Hey, 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 humanity. Teresa Marie, traveling ambassador of Chi and host of Free2JustB, the podcast where I have been documenting my dance of transformation and awakening to the incredible energy that we are experiencing on the planet and all things about the Matrix merry-go-round. And I coined that phrase and I share and help people identify and dissolve those matrix programs, false beliefs, and many of the systems that we have found ourselves on. And I've been doing this for about 3.5 years and just recently began to video my podcast as well. And as you can tell, I'm a very authentic, genuine 65-year-old, and I am literally walking in brand new ways of being. And it's very daunting, and it takes a lot of courage to go against what everybody else does. And yet there are millions that are beginning to wake up. It really, really began when COVID hit. And now here we are. And today I want to talk about the holiday that we're observing called Juneteenth. And it really got me pondering. I love the word Sila, which means pause and ponder. And before we jump in, let's pause and ponder about liking this podcast. If I'm resonating with you at all, maybe it's my garden videos, maybe it's the funny way I present myself sometimes, maybe you just think the way I look is hysterical. But if I have encouraged, inspired, or made you think, I would appreciate it if you hit the like button. And that way the algorithm will rise us up and more people will get to view this information. And share it, please. That would be great. You can also subscribe. You can find my podcast on Spotify or iHeartRadio or Apple. And now you can also find Free2JustB on YouTube. And soon and very soon, I will be going live on YouTube. That's why I need you to like the podcast so that I can get the amount of followers that I need to do so. So if you've been following me, now you can follow the face behind Teresa Marie, the former hippie freak of the South. And I just so appreciate you giving me some of your time, and I hope I bring some value and hope and inspiration to you tonight. And as you can tell, I just came in from the garden. My husband and I went into town and picked up some more plants and another bale of straw. And we were in his Jeep with all the windows wide open. And so thus my patriotic scarf and no makeup. And this is me, baby. And I am just so happy to be me. And tonight, I want to open with a couple of quotes and definitions. So I'm going to put my glasses on. And my quote is from James Baldwin, who was a prolific writer and activist. And he said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed unless it is faced." Now, is that not where we find ourselves right now on the planet? I think, especially since COVID days, so many people are awakening to the prison planet that we have been living on. And so many of us are fed up with government overreach and all the control systems that are in place. And it's kind of a paradox that today we are observing Juneteenth. And of course, that is when the African American population was emancipated. And set free from slavery. But first, let's view for a minute what a paradox is. What does paradox mean? So, a paradox is a statement or a situation that seems self-contradictory or runs contrary to expectations. Now, you would expect that in the United States of America, that we would be united and that we would be living in the republic that we thought we were living in. And yet it is a complete self-contradictory thing to say when we are constantly surveilled, when we are paying illegal taxes, when we are taxed ridiculously, when in so many different aspects, we as humans, not even just our African American brothers and sisters, and we are not negating, the remembrance that they are observing today on Juneteenth. But the paradox is, are any of us truly free? Now, that's what's so cool about James Baldwin's statement, because you see, we are beginning to face the fact that we are on this matrix merry-go-round. And many of us, the huge majority of Humanityville, is still going round and around that merry-go-round. And then there are others, there are pioneers that have stepped off the matrix merry-go-round in many ways, shapes, and forms, and have left systems, the education system, the medical system, the food system, the healthcare system. Pick a system. And many of us have begun or already have exited from a lot of these systems. And it's because we began to face the truth. Think about your African American brothers and sisters who may not be living in plantation life, may not be being whipped or owned, like merchandise. That may not be going on anymore. Yet, what did the system, what did the matrix merry-go-round do specifically to our African American brothers and sisters? They pretty much killed the family, right? They got so many of the men addicted to different drugs. And this was all by design. This is what the truth is. Just like we as humans and as Americans cannot take what happened to our African American brothers and sisters out of history. It's part of American history. We cannot negate that our governmental systems, by design, destroyed the Black Americans' family life. And many of the moms were abandoned, and now we have single mom families. And then they brought in the rap culture and the thug life, and wearing pants down below your butt cheeks, and all of these things. If you look at them, they're all negatives. They're all still forms of slavery. They have pit whites, red skin, yellow skin. It's all division. And every single race wants to be acknowledged. Every single person on the planet wants to be acknowledged. And The other major thing that they did to our dear Black population is not only the destruction of families, which of course is pretty much worldwide, but it separated them from church, from God. African Americans traditionally were very family orientated, even when they were slaves, and were the most spiritual people. And you go to a gospel church that is full of color, and you will have the best worship ever. And they have really destroyed a lot of that continuity from generations past. And it's a tragic, tragic outcome of what's happening. And yet, what James Baldwin said is true. True change is happening because people are facing this matrix merry-go-round we find ourselves on. And we all want emancipation. We all want to be free of it. Now, I'm not negating, I want to stay focused on this day because it is important. So I was reading an article by a gal named Katrina Butler called When 4th of July Meets Juneteenth. And I'm just going to read a couple of sentences because they're so relevant to what's happening in the world today and what we're celebrating or reminding ourselves of on this day of Juneteenth. So she says, and I quote, "We must also recognize that Black history is American history, and true patriotism isn't blind loyalty." I always had a struggle with the Romans 13 scriptures where it says, "Obey the authorities that be," because they were put there by God for your own protection. And I always question that. Well, what if the powers that be are incredibly corrupt and evil? And, then you discover down the line as you're beginning to evolve and you're beginning to wake up more and more that many of the scriptures were adulterated or removed or twisted or added to. Why? Because the controllers of this matrix merry-go-round want to continue to control. But it's unraveling. It's like somebody pulled the cord, and dare I say, no, I don't have to dare because it was God. God is unraveling it all and showing the world the truth. So as you're beginning to wake up, you are beginning to realize that you can't just blindly believe everything that you hear just because, say, for example, the political party that your grandparents and your mom and dad and now you belong to. No, you have to literally begin to do your own research. One of the things I say all the time, over and over again on this podcast, is we have to have a resurrection of inquisition. Where has our curiosity gone? Well, it's gone to Google. Hey, Google, right? We don't research anything on our own anymore, and it's part of that microwave mentality. And unfortunately, folks, we cannot bypass. We cannot not do the work. Nobody does it for us. It's an inside job, and you as an individual and I as an individual have to be the one that is willing to begin to awaken to what's really happening. And then we have to decide, do we want to continue to live like that? So anyway, to continue with Katrina Butler's words, so she says we must recognize that Black history is American history. This is the truth. And, there are people that want to continue this whole race division thing and say, oh, we don't even need to go there. It's ridiculous because it is true. History happened and we can't just put it under the carpet and say it didn't, right? And so she continues, true patriotism isn't blind loyalty. Now here's where we get interesting. It's the courageous act of holding your nation accountable to its ideals. And that, Humanityville, is what there are people now challenging everything, challenging laws, challenging regulations, challenging governmental leaders, saying, we don't want you in this position of power. We don't want the same political leaders for 30 or 40 years. We want certain things to happen. We want certain things to stop. And this is truly what, like, Martin Luther King Jr. wanted to do. He wanted to see things systematically change instead of systematically continuing to loop over and over again. Same racism, same division, same slavery for all of us. And then there's the few, the 2%, the elites, the ones that run the money, that want to control all the rest of us, right? So in the big picture, all of us on the planet have been being ruled by nefarious, evil rulers, and we are all in our own form of slavery. And we all are responsible for exiting. And today I want to stand in the gap for my African American brothers and sisters and say, I am so sorry for what man did to your beautiful race. And it was wrong. And we have been led down these roads of evil over and over and over again across centuries. And hopefully, in my time here on the planet, before I exit, I would like to see unity and harmony on this planet, which is why I do this podcast, which is why I continue to evolve, which is why I share all of my experiences, because I want to help people understand that we all allowed all of these control systems, and we can also rise up and change it. So Katrina Butler continues to say that we have to hold our nation accountable to its ideals, right? She continues, it's being willing to ask the hard questions, to examine uncomfortable truths, and to build a better future from the wreckage of what was. I can apply this to the awakening journey. We all have to take the wreckage of our lives. It's just like the history of African Americans. They have a horrible history way back when. But then every immigrant that came here has their own story. And just like you and I right now in the 21st century, we have an entire life of different things that occurred, and we're the ones that have to face these uncomfortable personal truths, failures, ways that we succumb to evil, times that we didn't do what was right, times where we were judged and spitefully misused. We have to face that ourselves and choose to build a better future from that wreckage. So then Katrina Butler goes on to say, so as we approach this year's Juneteenth, I remain patriotic, but with eyes wide open. I believe in the dream. I also believe in the work. And that right there is the awakening journey as well, the dance of transformation. We have to have our eyes wide open to what's gone on in our own lives, what's gone on in the world, and then we have to believe. We have to believe and see it. We have to change everything between our ears. We have to get back to our heart. We have to, in order, the Wookiefoot sung the song. To find your heart, you have to lose your mind. To find your heart, you have to lose your mind. And the longest journey is from here, to your heart. And that's where it truly begins. We have to face the uncomfortable truths, not only about our personal self, but our family line, our cultural line, our economic lines. We have to face the truth of the world that we're living in. And then, as she continues, you have to do the work. I believe in the work. And she closes. For me, that intersection where July 4th meets June 19th is where the real America lives. We are a country in tension, in transition, in pursuit. Is that not the truth? We are in the most tumultuous times right now. And buckle up, Buttercup, because there are going to be so many truths revealed that we're going to have to hold each other up. Red, yellow, black, and white. We are going to have to join arms and forces. And we're going to have to encourage each other, because this government is going to topple. Because the God that I serve, the God that created all of us, he's even more sick and tired of the evil than we are. And I do believe that he is beginning to shake everything. And so in closing, Katrina Butler says, to all those who call yourselves patriots, I ask you this. Are you willing to help America live up to its promise of liberty and justice for all? And you might not think you can change the world, but the way we change the world is one heart at a time. So one person that begins to wake up and recognize, wow, I cannot blame my screwed up life on the race of people that I come from. I cannot blame where I am in life on my ancestors, on my mom and dad, on the government. I have to accept full responsibility for my body, mind, and soul. And I have to look at it. I have to sit in my own pile of shite. And I have to begin to shovel and resurrect Inquisition and figure out what the roots are of each of my personal matrix programs, because we all have them. I'll share one with you right now. It's almost 7 o'clock here in Middle Tennessee, and I'm drinking coffee. Not a good practice. It's one of the programs that I haven't quite dissolved yet. And it's by design. My little town has 7 different coffee shops, and they run 24/7 just about. Most of this is by design. And when we begin to start peeling back all the things that we are surrounded with, and we begin to accept personal responsibility, then our heart changes and the lights come back on. Blink! And so one heart that gets reached, one heart that recognizes the mind is a tool. It does not control us. And we stop loop-de-looping our thoughts. We begin to heal. We begin to have fresh, new chi or energy go through our bodies. But nobody comes to do this for us. Just like Katrina Butler shared in her article about Juneteenth. We have to do the work. Yes, we have to recognize our own history and how we got to right here. Yes, that's an important aspect of the awakening transformational dance that we find ourselves in. 1 step forward, 2 steps back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, and the dance continues. But we cannot shirk the inner work that is required to become free. Free to just be who we came here to be. We all have a purpose, but until we discover the I am in us, we can't discover our purpose. So I just pray today for every one of my beautiful brothers and sisters of color tonight. And I hope you've had a really good Juneteenth day. And to my white brothers and sisters that grumbled and complained about this day, we need to do better. And I just pray that all of us will have the greatest health and the most vibrant energy today and every day going forward. Because we're all going to need super on our natural, folks. Because as Steven Spielberg's movie, Disclosure Day, it talked about the possible other life forms. And if you haven't seen that movie, it's worth going to see. We enjoyed it last weekend. But disclosures have only just begun. So hold each other up, no matter what color. Color should not even be a thing anymore. I mean, really, let's just let love lead out, and we can reclaim this world right back out of the enemy's hands. And to you, enemy, we're coming to your camp, and we're taking back what you stole from us: our health, our freedom, our families, our children, our rights, our wealth, our abundance, and our peace. And you have to give it back sevenfold, because that's what the Word of God says, and God's Word doesn't lie and never comes back void. So I hope you have a wonder-filled weekend. And if you're seeing me on YouTube, woohoo, I'm here, I'm going forward. And if you're listening on just audio, I so appreciate your listening tonight. And please like, subscribe, and share. And I will see you next time. Peace.